Ghost of Yotei new protagonist gameplay details. The emergence of guns and firearms in Japan is a huge aspect of the country's history. The first of its kind to be brought to Japan, the Arquebus, was from the Portuguese in the 1500s. Atsu can dual-wield katana, a talent that was never available to Jin Sakai in the first game. It could suggest that Atsu might prefer the direct approach to the stealthy methods that Jin could use to avoid and assassinate enemies. For all you accuracy fans out there, this detail actually lines up with historical records that suggest dual-wielding wasn't a common practice in Japan during the time period in which Jin lived, but in Atsu's 17th-century world, the swordsman Miyamoto Musashi created the two heavens as one niten'ichi technique with two blades. Atsu will wear a ghost mask throughout the game, suggesting that she is somehow following the steps of Jin Sakai. This means stealth gameplay, likely with tools, distraction devices, and new abilities. One key difference between Ghost of Yotei and Ghost of Tsushima is the inclusion of firearms, which will be a core arm of Atsu's arsenal. PlayStation confirmed that Ghost of Yotei will introduce new mechanics, gameplay improvements, and even new weapons. As such, firearms will likely be just one of the unique gameplay features added for the sequel. Fear not, however, for while the game will aim to innovate on systems found in Ghost of Tsushima, the devs have also promised to create something fresh but familiar for Yotei. Beyond that, we know devs are striving to reduce the amount of repetition that's prominent in open-world games. Admitting doing the same thing over again is a challenge in games of that nature. Creative director Jason Connell said the team is looking to balance against that and find unique experiences with the sequel. The name gives away the new setting for the game, but for those of us that skipped a few geography classes, Yotei refers to Mount Yotei, translated somewhat unglamorously as Sheephoof Mountain, a volcano located in northern Japan, specifically on Hokkaido, the second biggest Japanese island, which would have been called Ezo in Atsu's time. When we started working on a sequel, the first question we ask ourselves is, what is the DNA of a Ghost game? Creative director Nate Fox told the New York Times, "It is about transporting the player to the romance and beauty of feudal Japan." The Sucker Punch team visited a number of locations in Japan for research, including Shiratoko National Park, where Fox made recordings of the ambient sounds to take back to the studio. "Inside the park, you have to watch a video telling you about the dangers of bears," Fox said. Being in this incredibly beautiful park with jagged cliffs and water, yet all the time being aware there were dangerous bears, was electrifying. We strive to bring that into the video game, that feeling of danger. Ghost of Yotei is set in 1603, according to the PlayStation blog. That's 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima and a period when Ezo was home to the indigenous Ainu people and still outside the control of Japan. Perhaps not coincidentally, 1603 is marked the Tokugawa shogunate becoming the government of Japan after the Battle of Sekigahara.